All right. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this month's edition of the Arkansas Broadband Leaders Network. Glad to have you, and we're going to get right into it this morning. Okay, looking at the agenda for this morning, we're going to do broad program updates, and then we're going to have two sections of content today, actually. First, we'll look at some industry feedback and statewide barriers when we think about construction and deployment of broadband networks across the state. And then we're going to hear from Jeff Rose with the Older Adults Technology Services and hear what they have going on with that organization. And then, as always, open up for Q&A. And if anyone's new for the calls, please feel free to enter questions throughout the call today into the chat box, and we'll get them at the end and go through those with everybody. And at that point, you can also feel free to come off of mute when we reach that portion of the call. Okay, starting with the BEAD program at the state level, quick update here. To date, we have executed 11 of our 15 sub-grant agreements, including Brightspeed, Decatur Telephone, which is really Raleigh Networks, Windstream, Aristotle, NADCO, Clay County Connect, Premier, Hometown, Texoma, as well as SpaceX and Amazon. So 11 of the 15. We have 4 more sub-grant agreements to go. The revised execution deadline for those 4 remaining sub-grant agreements is August 3rd, so coming up in a couple of weeks. I do want to have a quick call out here for the call today. Just because we have 4 left, right, that doesn't mean anything's wrong. That just means that we're working through the processes on our side with both NTIA and NIST. There's things that come up, locations. Do they have enforceable commitments? Do they have service now, et cetera? So just working through some things. Just because there's 4 remaining, it's not an indication of anything, but it's just the process, and it takes time. If you've noticed, we're kind of slow rolling these and dripping them out across LinkedIn and making announcements about those on LinkedIn. So you've seen some of that perhaps recently, and we'll put some more of these out over the next couple of weeks in the public space on LinkedIn, but wanted to give you an update about that this morning. Okay, at the federal level, related to non-deployment funds, which of course has been a big topic of interest for this call, NTI Administrator Ariel Roth recently testified before Congress the last week or two that non-deployment guidance from NTIA to the states should be expected by the end of the summer, which would put it about mid-September or so. I thought that was newsworthy for this group, so I included it in our call this morning. As you guys are well aware, we've had deadlines before in this program that have come and passed with no guidance. And so we'll see. We're always optimistic that sort of new deadline. We'll see what happens. But there have been deadlines before, right, that have been set and then expired without guidance on that. So we'll see what happens. In the event, our team continues to prep for non-deployment funds and what that will look like for the state of Arkansas. So regardless of when it does come down, we will be ready. And of course, we'll keep you updated when that happens. The CPF program, which is the Capital Projects Fund, for funding purposes, you would know it as the Arkansas Rural Connect Grant Program Round 3, which was the infrastructure grant program we did before the current BEAD program. That is administered at the federal level, okay, by U.S. Treasury. They have extended construction deadlines on that particular program. So for ongoing broadband projects in Arkansas and elsewhere in the country that meet certain requirements, the federal deadline for completion of those projects has been extended until June 30th of next year, 2027. It was set to expire end of this calendar year, December 31. But because of ongoing projects that are being built out, you don't want to have an artificial timeline, right, that stops a project when it's 60% done. And there are reasons for delays in these programs. A lot of you are aware. Permitting is an issue that continues to plague broadband construction around the country. So in any event, there are still ongoing projects in the broadband space funded through this program, and U.S. Treasury has extended the deadline to middle of next year for that. Our team are working with U.S. Treasury to receive approval for that extended deadline for a handful of projects, and we don't have any reason to think that that will not be approved at this time. I want to make a note here on ISP construction performance around the state. Our office is seeing really what I would say is a recent increase in what I'm calling inquiries of concern, okay, from state legislators and county judges and mayors regarding ISP performance during build out, okay? For example, water line damage that's taking place across the state. I always take those opportunities when I speak to legislators or county judges or mayors and sort of always explain the scope of our office, what we do and do not have authority over, why that's the case, the different sources of funding for broadband build-outs across the state, right? So for any broadband project that's happening, right, it's either funded through the company's own private capital and their funding that's building that out. It could be a different federal grant that we do not administer, right, that's helping to pay for that. Or it could be one of the grants that the state has funded through our office. So we always talk through what we can and can't do, what we do and do not have authority over, and the different ways that projects are funded. I always take an opportunity to explain that. And so my call out here is that if your county or your community faces any ISP construction performance issues like that, please just reach out to our office directly. Okay. If it's a grant, if it's the construction project as a result of our grant, right, we have more levers that we can pull for that. But if it is a private build with their own money, or if it's a different federal grant that we're not responsible for, that doesn't mean that we can't make calls and try to investigate a little bit and see what's going on there and try to help out. So if your community or county faces any construction related issues relative to broadband projects, please reach out to us directly through the normal channels, and we'll connect with you and connect with that particular provider and try to see what's going on and then see if there's any way that we can help facilitate an outcome that's better for everyone. Okay. There was some news this week relative to the Digital Equity Act, or DEA, that came out of DC. And so I think Cam is with us on the call this morning. Cam, if you want to hop on real quick and talk about what happened this week in DC relative to DEA.
Sorry, Glenn. Get the wrong camera on. 1 second.
Oh, still on mute, Cam.
This is relatively hot off the press, so a lot is unsettled. Hopefully we'll learn more in the coming weeks. But as stated, the district court has struck down a covered population within the 8 that were recognized for the Digital Equity Act program. Arkansas was set to benefit from roughly four different projects. The process to get these programs to continuance is a bit undecided, and so we're just monitoring it. But overall, I think the judge mentioned that the programs could proceed. And that's all for this time. There's not much to go on, so we're just monitoring it. And so if you were looking at these programs, just continue to monitor the developments in this case. That is it from me for now.
All right. Thanks, Cam, for that. And just for clarity for folks, remember the DEA, there were 2 main programs, right, in that particular act. One, the competitive grant program, which Cam mentioned, U.S. District Court for D.C. Ruled could move forward. There were 2. There was that one, and there was another one for capacity. The competitive grant one is the one that non-state entities would apply for, right? The capacity grant program is the one that our office would have applied for and then granted out to do work. And so just to delineate between the 2 and make sure you are aware of sort of the 2 different grants, and we'll see what moves forward with that. And Cam, of course, will keep everyone updated and on top of that. Okay, so before we get to Oates and hear from Jeff about what's going on there, I want to do a quick read through, have some content for you today around industry feedback and statewide barriers. And so, what really ISPs across the state see as the biggest blockers to infrastructure expansion and where coordination can help. Okay, so really, we want to understand the barriers and coordination efforts, really, where barriers, okay, to infrastructure expansion are concentrating across the state, what state and local coordination can do to reduce that friction somewhat, and then try to improve outcomes in those cases. And for discussion, what blockers do you think show up most? So as we're going through kind of what we're talking about the next couple of slides, if you have thoughts, feel free to throw them into the chat, and we'll take a look at those. What do you think happens most times when construction projects get delayed and things happen and so forth? Okay, so when we look at this, barriers tend to cluster, okay, at the same points across projects. So whether it's a design issue or a permitting issue, or is it a make-ready issue, construction, activation, and maintenance. And so really, I know that broadband projects can seem slow to a lot of folks, and sometimes it doesn't make sense why it takes so long, but providers of the ISPs have to deal with a bunch of issues. They deal with make-ready processes, environmental processes, contractor availability, workforce issues, as well as cost volatility, right? These can all affect delivery, and these constraints are very real. So when we think about make-ready processes, what is that? Well, most times, unless you're an electric cooperative, right, and the subsidiary that they've created to help do internet service for folks, an ISP does not own the pole that they're attaching to. And so they have to come to agreements with pole owners, most likely the electric company. And the electric company and the ISP have to come together and come to an agreement about the rates and costs for putting their internet lines on the electric pole, right? That takes time to figure out. There's a lot of environmental reviews potentially that have to take place from, U.S. parks to forests to wetlands and so forth. So environmental reviews can take time. And then make sure that they have contractors available. Sometimes providers will lean into the contractor space to help build out, right, their networks. And so they have to make sure and do the everything in the background to make sure that those crews are ready and available for different parts of the build when that takes place, as well as cost. As time goes on, things get more expensive, right? And so having to think about that. Point here is a lot of different points at which delays can occur. So what we want to examine today is where that friction and coordination gaps compound those constraints further. And, from a state perspective in the BEAD program, you look across states consistently, permitting is also a key obstacle that continues to bubble to the surface across each state for ways that projects can get delayed. So broadly, the barriers can fall into three categories, okay? Kind of traditional process friction. There can be capacity gaps, and there can also be coordination failures. So what do these look like? When you look at a process friction, that would be permitting delays, unclear right-of-way requirements from county or municipal governments, and diverse local standards, right? And what does that cost when it's unaddressed? Providers that are building, they have to build large unknowns when they bid for projects. They have to factor those costs and delays in timing into their bids. The costs in reducing competition for rural projects. You can also have a capacity gap. And what does that look like? Not enough qualified contractors, right? Or environmental review specialists, or enough project managers working in particular projects. What is the cost there? Projects can stall at specific stages, even when funding and approvals are in place. So even if our team has approved funding and everything, all the boxes are checked, right? If for whatever reason, there's not enough qualified contractors, or you can't get your environmental review done that's required by the feds or the state, that can cause issues as well. And then lastly, a third bucket kind of category that we see quite often is coordination failures. So we just talked about it, right? Utilities that own poles, right of way that you have to get into at both the county, the state, municipal level, the ISPs, and those agencies kind of working all on different timelines, right? A state agency might make a review take 6 months, and then a federal review take 10 months, right? And all these different things kind of happen at the same time. Delays can compound, right? on this. And so these three categories, of course, do interact. It can slow coordination. Coordination failures make capacity constraints harder to absorb. Quick spotlight here, kind of on a couple of things. We'll talk about permitting quickly and the right-of-way coordination. So in multi-jurisdiction routes, as a provider is building out, right, like I said, they may have to interact with federal review, a state right-of-way, there may be a county right-of-way involved, and even a municipal right-of-way involved. So these multiple jurisdiction routes that can happen require approvals from multiple agencies with different timelines, as we just talked about, as well as different standards, different applications, and different pieces of information that you have to put into the system, multiplying the coordination overhead and cost, okay, as you move throughout the process. You have special crossings, like railroads, waterways, the Army Corps of Engineers, right? State highway systems can add months to deployment schedules independent of being ready to build, right? So these ISPs can be ready to go. They can have all their folks lined up. But if the railroad company takes too much time to go through the application process for permits, it's part of the deal sometimes. You can also have inconsistent local processes, okay? So variation in local permitting from town to town or city to city creates unpredictable delays sometimes and increases project management burden. And then lastly, kind of all of this uncertainty gets built into the application process and can raise costs. So uncertain permitting timelines drive higher bid costs as providers have to price in that risk. One state saw pole attachment costs increase from $30,000 to $90,000 per mile of construction, okay, directly impacting whether that project was viable or not. And here's where state and local coordination can change some of these outcomes, okay? So, we want to reduce some of this friction that takes place, trying to standardize permitting, submittals, and review pathways and trying to get them more standardized across agencies and across jurisdictions can help. As much as we can, we try to help provide environmental review templates and clear pre-submission guidance, and also try to align documentation requirements across jurisdictions as well. Improving market visibility can help. So having visible project pipelines so contractors and firms can plan ahead. Repeat opportunities for local firms to build capability over time, as well as technical assistance can help providers prepare complete and approvable applications. And lastly, strengthening coordination. So engaging with pole owners and utilities and power companies, the right-of-way owners, right, whether they be the state, county, or local, and providers earlier on in the process. And so one of the things that we do is we push the ISPs and our grant programs to have coordination meetings, right, with Arkansas 811, with the counties and municipalities that they're going to be constructing in before those projects get kicked off. And really that can make all of the difference. When everyone's on the same page, the process can move much smoother. Having shared timelines and clear escalation pathways when something is going awry and getting that done all ahead of time can be very beneficial. And also aligning workforce training programs with employer demand, which is something that Arkansas has done a great job of. Our Office of Skills Development within the Department of Commerce has helped to fund there's Arkansas Fiber Academy programs across the state in coordination with the Arkansas Community College System. And they worked very hard with employers across the state to make sure that what was getting taught and trained up in those programs is what employers actually needed. And so we've done a great job there. Key takeaways before we hop to OATS in that presentation. So one, process frictions, capacity gaps, and coordination failures each drive up costs and schedule risk in different ways. And they tend to concentrate at the same delivery stages across projects as we saw on that first slide. Permitting and right-of-way coordination is one of the clearest areas where reducing that friction has direct impact on project predictability and bid competition. And then lastly, we're working very hard to build the tools and structures necessary to reduce those avoidable barriers. But the tools work best when stakeholders are engaged early and consistently. And that's why we're always glad to have you guys on these calls because it will pay a difference down the road. All right, thanks for that. We can go through questions on that at the end. With that, we'll move to Jeffrey Rose this morning with the Older Adult Technology Services and OATS program, and we'll hear what they have going on. Good morning, Jeff.
Good morning. Hello, everybody. Thanks for having us here this morning. I'm actually joined by a colleague of mine as well, and I am going to share a screen here. Just give me one moment as it pops up. Hopefully you can see it all. Can you see the screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Wonderful. So my name is Jeff Rose, and I am here today from Older Adults Technology Services. We're going to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do. Just a quick introduction of my colleague Daryl, who's here on the call. So Daryl, if you want to hop off mute and introduce yourself, and then I'll talk through our presentation.
Perfect. Hey, very glad to be here. I'm located here in San Antonio, Texas. I've been working with OATS since 2018. Yeah, and it's great. Thank y'all.
And Daryl is our regional program manager, and he covers Arkansas as the state, so he's the main point of contact, but I get to work across the country talking to broadband offices and ISPs about wonderful programs that we can offer to communities, connecting folks to digital skills and all sorts of things that we do here at OATS. So I'm going to dive through our presentation here and talk a little bit about what we do. So a little bit about us. We are a 501c3 nonprofit organization who's been around since 2004. So we're 22 years old this year. Our flagship brand is our Senior Planet brand. So we, as you know us, and by our introduction, Older Adult Technology Services, that's how we talk to organizations like yourselves. But where we meet older adults in the community, that's through our Senior Planet brand. It can get a little confusing to folks sometimes. So when we get a chance to talk to people, we like to make sure that we explain the difference there. We ourselves consider our organization a social impact organization. So we have a social impact model, which I'll explain here in just a little bit. We do our work through a few different avenues. And again, I'll get into those different avenues here in the next few slides. And a lot of questions we get about our AARP affiliation. I like to take this opportunity. We are a different organization than AARP. We are a charitable affiliate, which means they help to support the work that we do. But we are our own separate 501c3 nonprofit organization doing the work that we do throughout the country. So what do we do? Well, we do a few different things. One, we operate some technology-themed community centers for older adults. We have them in the state of New York and Colorado and Florida. That's where in person we teach technology programs, everything from how to use smartphones and tablets to social media to if you want to find a job on LinkedIn or open your own Etsy store so you can sell your crafts online. That's one of my favorite classes that we have to offer. We also have wonderful programs on events on our website, seniorplanet.org, where people can, again, take those lovely classes that we offer in our Senior Planet centers, but they can access them online. So if you have the skills necessary to get online and take classes over Zoom, we have those, and we offer those 6 days a week through our website, seniorplanet.org. We also have a wonderful licensing program, which I'll get to in a little bit, where we actually have the opportunity for local nonprofit organizations, government entities, area agencies on aging, libraries, you name it, and they can actually take advantage of the same curriculum that we teach online and in person in our centers and bring those to communities. Hopefully, one community in Arkansas will be able to bring that to a community that you all serve. So kind of towards the end of the presentation, I'll be sharing some ideas that you all can take back to the communities in which you serve in hopes that you'll be able to bring older adult services to the older adults in the communities that you all are representing here today. So I talked a little bit about those centers, and just a quick few pictures that I like to share. Kind of our philosophy as we serve older adults is to break the mold of aging. So if you see the pictures here, if any of you have visited a senior center in your communities, our vision is really to give extraordinary experiences to older adults. So we design our website and our centers to give the best possible experiences and make them comfortable spaces to learn technology. So these are a picture of our centers. We have our flagship center in New York City, in Plattsburgh, New York, which is our rural center. We do a lot of work in rural areas, and we wanted to make sure that we had one of our flagship Cedar Planet centers located in a rural area. We also have one in Denver, Colorado, and our Miami center, which is actually the picture on the far left there. A little bit more about our online offerings that I was talking about. We have over 70 classes every week. We do offer classes in different languages outside of English. So we have a lot of folks who come to us who speak Spanish, as an example. We also offer classes in Mandarin and Vietnamese. Besides classes, we have everything from articles for people to read, content for people to consume. We have tech tip videos, all sorts of opportunities for people to engage. We have our own social network on our website, Senior Planet Community, where people can engage with older adults in a safer space there, where we bring people together to talk about technology topics or gardening or everything in between. So it's a wonderful ecosystem that we've built on our website, seniorplanet.org. One of my favorite resources that we have to offer is our toll-free technology hotline. And one of the questions we also get asked all the time is, do you have to be an AARP member to use any of this? Again, we're just a charitable affiliate of AARP. No one has to be an AARP member to do any of the things that we have to offer. But our toll-free technology hotline is open to anyone across the country. We serve those 50 or better with our services. But we answer questions ranging from, hey, I need help setting up an email account, to using Zoom, to resetting my password, to helping identify scams coming through text messages or emails. Our toll-free technology hotline is open 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and Monday through Friday, and 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Eastern Time on Saturday. I never remember the different time zones as we go across the country, the opening hours, but we can translate it back when I get my head together. A little bit about our licensing program here. So our licensing program, again, is the opportunity, that same curriculum that we teach online and in person in our centers, we bring to local communities. So the way that model works is a train the trainer model. So we work with those local trusted organizations to bring our curriculum, say, to the local library. And we train the local librarian on how to teach our curriculum at the library. We train those librarians on teaching Senior Planet curriculum, and then they teach our curriculum in libraries across the country. So I recently had the opportunity, to attend the American Library Association conference, and I got to talk to many different libraries across the country. And we are working with libraries all over who are doing this work, but it's not limited to libraries. As an example, we work with senior centers, we work with university extensions, we work with all sorts of different partner types who are doing this work. So this program, again, is a free program that we offer, and we love to bring it to communities. So if you're interested in learning more about this program, you can visit oats.org/licensing, or you can email our licensing team, at licensing@seniorplanet.org. If you visit that website, we have information sessions that we offer 2 to 3 times a month, where you can come learn a little bit more about that program and learn how you can bring it to your community. So this is a lovely little map of our licensed partner ecosystem. And as you can see, the red are states in which we have licensed partners, and Arkansas is not red. And we'd love to make that state red by filling it with licensed partners. So again, if anyone is on this call who would love to bring the licensing program to their community, please do reach out, get in touch. I'm happy to make a personal connection to the licensing team, or you're happy to, again, come to one of those information sessions or reach out on your own. But we're looking to fill the entire country, every state, have a licensing partner in every state across the country. So that's our goal this year. By year end, all 50 states plus Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico to have a licensing partner in them. So hopefully someone here can help us reach that goal. So a little bit about how we do what we do. We actually at Oats have a full-time team of educators who are building our curriculum and maintaining our curriculum. So every time Apple, as an example, comes out with a new iPhone or a new operating system for their iPhone, our curriculum team are actually developing that material and deploying that material to those licensing sites. We're teaching it online. So we are staying up to date with what's going on in the world of technology, everything from AI to staying safe online. We talk about whatever the latest scam is that's going around. Our education team is constantly staying on top of what's going on with the latest technology, and we're making sure that we're doing our best to educate the older adults in the world about what that is. At the same time, we ensure that we're including older adults in that education experience. We're listening to them about what they want to learn. So we're not just teaching them what we think that it's important. We're including them to make sure that they're learning. For example, that Etsy class that I was talking about, we got a lot of feedback. We have a lot of folks who come to us that are crafters and they wanted to learn about what Etsy is and how they could sell their wares on Etsy. So that's why we developed that class as an example. So this is a little bit about our methodology. And I talked at the top of the call how we consider ourselves a social impact organization. And really what that means to us is our goal isn't necessarily to teach someone how to use a phone. Our goal is to improve the lives of older adults. So you can see up here on the screen, we actually collect data on outcomes versus number of people trained. We actually collect that data too, but our goal is to have older adults feel more confident connecting socially online. So social isolation is something that's really important to us. We really want people to feel less alone and more connected. We want them to feel healthier, feel more financially well off. So the way we do that is through technology. So all of the curriculum that we build is around those different areas, and we teach it so we can improve the lives of older adults through those different areas. So this is just a sampling of some of that data that we've collected in that kind of social isolation realm. And here's kind of a glance at some of those, I know this is kind of an eye chart here, of some of the curriculum pieces that we have. So we have a lot of different curriculum, and you can see on the left-hand side of the chart there, we have our kind of curriculum pieces broken down by that impact area. So we have those 5 different impact areas where we want to see improvements in older adults' lives. And then we have a wide-ranging way of which we deliver the curriculum. So everything from 5 and 10-week courses, and those are really foundational courses where we have really basic how to use my phone or tablet or computer, all the way up to the lectures and demos and workshops. And those are the opportunity for people to figure out what they want to do with their devices. So how to find the jobs on LinkedIn, those kinds of classes. And those make up the bulk of it because the intrinsic motivation on learning how to use a device is so important. Again, no one comes to us to say, teach me how to use this phone. They say, teach me how to use this phone because I want to connect with my family and friends. I want to learn how to use FaceTime. I want to text my granddaughter, as an example. So it's really powerful stuff. And we have, again, a wonderful education team who are developing all of these pieces of curriculum. Here's a little bit of an easier to read chart of our materials by those different impact areas. So again, that foundational piece is really those basics on how to use your device, and everything's split off on those different pieces and parts. The financial security includes everything from preventing frauds and scams all the way up to, say, finding a job on LinkedIn, as I mentioned. So moving on, because I want to make sure we have a little time for some questions, because I see some popping up in the chat here, and I see Daryl's doing a great job of helping me answer some in the chat here, so thank you, Daryl. But a little bit about our Senior Planet community, again, our in-house social network. We have everything from caregiving support groups, because caregiving is a hot topic in the world of older adults these days. In fact, we have a wonderful caregiving and technology report that will be coming out, I think, hopefully next week or the week after. We have groups where older adults can gather to talk about brain health and gardening and cooking and everything in between. So again, this is a trusted, safe space for older adults to gather. That's part of our website. So when older adults come and take a class with us, they can do everything from taking that class to reading an article to joining us on our social network site. We also have a wonderful podcast. I feel like who doesn't have a podcast these days? So if you're interested in learning about wonderful topics for those that are applicable to the 50 plus, our podcast talks about things related to technology and not related to technology that affect those 50 plus. We have some wonderful guests who've appeared on our podcast that talk about some of the topics that you see up here on the screen. So encourage you to check out our podcast wherever you get your podcasts today. It's a great opportunity to, again, find us in a medium where older adults or yourselves are enjoying a podcast. So the next thing I want to share is a little bit about our work in the broadband connectivity space. And in 2020, we released a report called Aging Connected. And that Aging Connected report was looking at the broadband gap between those who are 18 to 64 who are connected to home internet and those who are 65 and up who are connected to home internet. And it took those two age groups and it looked at internet adoption between them, and it found the gap of adoption. And basically, we learned that 22 million older adults 65 plus were not connected to the internet. Well, a lot of things happened since 2020, and we revisited that report 5 years later, and we came out with Aging Connected 2025. And we learned that since that report came out, that number dropped from 22 million to 19 million. So a lot of folks have been connected to the internet since that initial report came out. So that's great news, because you all are doing great works in your community, and there are great programs like BEAD that are helping to connect more folks to internet. Of course, one of the big pieces is laying fiber in the ground or getting folks connected to internet one way or another, but there is definitely the need to have adoption alongside of it, because that's only one piece to the puzzle, is to get internet to them, and we need to make sure that organizations like ourselves are there to be able to provide the support and the skills needed to get folks connected and to stay connected to those internet services. So we did this report, and alongside of this report, we decided it might be a good opportunity to work alongside of ISPs who are doing that great work to connect homes, especially during the BEAD implementation here. So we created this new program that I wanted to share with all of you today. So if you are from an ISP, this is great. If you are from anywhere that works with an ISP, I'm hoping that you can take this back to ISPs that you all work with. So we have this program called the Adoption Advantage, and we actually have partnered with the Fiber Broadband Association with this program. And the way this works, it's actually a really turnkey solution that allows a fiber broadband provider in communities to bring our licensing program to a community that's not being currently served. So they fund a kind of sponsor, a community anchor institution to receive our licensing program. We then train that partner, and then we help get older adults online in communities. So it's pretty simple, as easy as 1, 2, 3, as we have up there on the screen. A little bit of some kind of benefits of the program. A lot of ISPs do community impact work. Sometimes they sponsor, farmers market or a 5K race. So our thought is really this is a year-long program that's focused on digital skills training for older adults. So it's a year-long investment. It's an opportunity to reach that senior audience, that adoption audience that's primed to uptake that fiber internet that's being laid as part of the BEAD process there. And then reinforcing the value of broadband, showing the importance of things like telehealth or social connection or streaming, online learning, everything in between. And then for ISPs, that premier community partner, so showing the investment in community and why it's such an important thing. So this is a brand new program we have. We just signed on our first ISP just yesterday, and we're really excited to be rolling this out in partnership with the Fiber Broadband Association and doing this work with ISPs across the country. So that's a little bit about us. Again, if you're interested in learning more, I know Daryl's dropped, again, some information in the chat here, and Cam will be getting this presentation from me, and I'll be sharing it back with you all in a PDF format, and I think he'll be sending it out if that's okay with everyone. So you can also visit these websites, give us a call, send us an email. We're more than happy to get in touch and have a conversation with any and all of you. So I'm happy to take a pause here and open up the floor to any questions that anyone might have.
All right, Jeff, thank you for that. We will take a look at the chat box first and see what we've got. Go back and skim through here. 1 second.
Got a lot of note takers on free plans here, but
oh yeah. Oh, that 30-minute mark is always entertaining. Let's see. Kind of go through. Scroll through here. Let's see. Still scrolling. Folks got to upgrade past 30 minutes. Let's see. Yeah, and we always, as Jeff, as you mentioned, we always send pretty good notes out via email after these calls. And so I see Daryl put his information, email addresses, and then some links, some good stuff. So we'll make sure that our team captures those links as well within the email communication that goes out. Let's see. Yeah, Wardell asked, where do I obtain the documentation presented at the meeting? And Jeff hit, we're going to share that in the notes.
I actually have some questions.
Yep. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
Yes, hello, my name is Wardell Henley. I'm with the Black Community Development Chamber of Commerce of Arkansas. We also have two other LLCs, a C3 and a EZC3. This to Mr. Jeffrey. So your oats, your product, which is called oats, is basically providing access to technology for senior citizens. Is that basically the high level? That's your purpose, is that correct?
That is correct.
And you do this by offering licenses to nonprofits or ISPs or what? What is the structure?
That is correct. So we offer licenses to nonprofits, and then we have an arrangement with ISPs where we would kind of charge them, and they would help bring programs into communities across the country, and that's our newest program.
Okay, but you could go direct to a nonprofit without
Correct.
ISP.
Yep.
So, Is this your contact number, 888-713-3495? What is
No,
your
so that's our toll-free hotline where folks can call and get support for their technology. So if you're interested in learning more about this program, Daryl, if you want to actually just put the licensing email in the chat, you can reach out to our licensing team and they can email you through or talk you through our licensing program so you can learn more about what's
Can I
involved
call
with that.
you if I have questions before we go directly to licensing? I'd like to know a little bit more about the structure. Do you offer your hardware? Is that part of the licensing agreement? Costs? Do you offer grants to supplement any costs to provide this service?
Yeah, those are both great questions, and I can answer both right here, right now for you. We don't offer hardware to our partners because everything that we do is free. So we depend on partners to provide those things as part of the licensing agreement. They kind of have to provide the space and the devices to be able to teach. And then as far as grants go, we as an organization, we do a lot of re-granting actually. So because everything that we do is free, we kind of fundraise as an organization, and where we're able to, we re-grant to partners. So we've re-granted, I think, probably close to $3 or $4 million in the last 5-6 years alone to our licensing partners. So we do give a lot of money through our licensing partner network when we go through various grant cycles.
Okay, and you can introduce ISPs to a nonprofit if they want to pursue this, to see if, because the ISP obviously would cover the cost of the internet for the service. Is that correct?
That's part of it, yeah. So if there's an ISP operating in your local community, you can send them our way, and we can work together to help bring this to life in your community. We're always happy to have that conversation. That's part of our new partnership with the Fiber Broadband Association.
Okay, so you're saying that moving forward, I need to communicate with their licensing. Is there a cost to get this license?
No, if you're a nonprofit, the license is free. If you're an ISP, it's a little bit of a different story. So
okay, so do I need to?
Wardell, it sounds like you're from a nonprofit, so I encourage you to reach out to our licensing team to inquire more about how we can serve your organization, because I think it might be a great opportunity for you.
Okay, and name of your company is OAKS, Oaks?
Oaks, yeah, Older Adults Technology Services.
Okay, do you have the number for the licensing team? Oh, there's, I see an email. Is there a phone number?
Yeah, what you could do is you could email them, and I think they would be happy to schedule a telephone call with you. That would probably be the best course of action. I could talk to you, but they are the experts, and that's why I'm sending you their email. Just because, yeah, they're more expert than me, so it's easier to chat with them.
Yeah, but you're management, right?
Yes, but they have management who's just as competent as I. I'm kind of
You're just your communication.
I like to, yeah, I go around, I go to conferences, I talk to groups, I get to interface with the broadband offices. That's kind of my role is talking to, I work with the Fiber Broadband Association as an example. So I live and breathe internet and all those sorts of things. So the licensing team are experts to deal with the licensing program as an example.
Okay. Okay, I guess that's it then. Thank you. I'll send an email to the licensing team at licensing@seniorplanet.org. Is that correct?
Yep.
All right.
You got it.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Have a nice day.
All right. Appreciate that, Wardell. And I see that Tamika also interested in the chat. So everyone just remember that we will share all of the links and contacts within the email that follows the call. Everyone will get that.
Any other questions?
Jeff, just one thing. I'm Daryl Greer. I'm located here in Texas, not that far away from you. I've been working within digital inclusion of older adults since 2018. I have great relationships with the Alzheimer's Association, working with our AAAs, universities, many other different types of programs. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to send me an email, and I'll be glad to kind of schedule a meet and greet, a one-to-one, or anything else. Thank you.
Where is your
Good
email?
deal.
Where's the last gentleman that spoke? Where's his email? You have it listed in the chat, sir?
I will drop it in the chat. I'll drop it in chat.
Thank you, sir.
All right, we'll give it just another minute here in case you never know, sometimes you type out a long one, so we'll sit for just a second and see if anybody's got anything.
Hey, Glenn, this is Kevin Sievert with Calix. I had a quick
Hey,
question
Kevin.
about the BEAD program.
Sure.
I've been talking to various state offices, and they have identified locations that have that were not eligible for BEAD funding, but were still unserved or underserved. And, I know Errol Roth in her testimony mentioned something about a cleanup round, right? And I've seen some press about the NTIA requesting states to review the latest broadband maps, especially around satellite and whatnot. My question to you is, after you've done your early, this BEAD negotiations of all your projects and whatnot, have you identified any locations in the state that were not eligible for BEAD but are still unserved or underserved?
Yeah, that's a really good question, Kevin. Thanks for asking that. At least for our office at this point, we have not taken that step just yet. A couple of things I would say there. So A, good question. B, we have not gone through a formal process just yet on locating locations, but I'll give you an example, right? That we know that there are around 33 to 3,400 locations that were not eligible for the BEAD program because at the time that the BEAD maps were finalized, they were subject to other federal grant programs, okay? And since that time, those other federal grant awards, the providers have had to back out of for whatever reason. And so when the BEAD maps were created, they weren't eligible because they were part of a grant program. But that grant coverage for those locations has ceased because for whatever reason, the ISP can't do it. And so that's an example of locations that weren't BEAD eligible, but now don't have a grant to cover them, right? And so although we have not done a formal process to evaluate those, that's an example of locations that we know are out there. And I continue to advocate for a cleanup round to be included with what NTIA does with their non-deployment guidance. We just have to wait and see once they finally do release it at some point what that looks like. So not a formal process. We know there are locations out there, and we'll do more evaluation kind of as we move forward. Is that helpful?
Yeah, no, that's a great answer. I appreciate the information about the previous defaults and whatnot. And I know, I think there was a state that had 3,000 locations just in the latest iteration that went from unserved to went from served to underserved. And not sure if that was like similar to you, a federal default, or if it was just, maybe an ISP, reconciling maybe a overestimation of their network or whatever it is, right?
Sure.
So I know there's all sorts of reasons why locations might go back on to the underserved and unserved, and I just wonder if you guys have already kind of got a handle on that. They're out there. You're going to work on that, but you're focusing on sub-grantee agreements right now, so completely understand.
Yeah, part of the process, kind of one domino at a time.
Yep, I got you.
But we know that there will be, whether whether it's funding through BEAD's non-deployment bucket and a cleanup round that takes care of those locations, or other federal grant programs that can eventually take care of those locations, there will be locations that will have to be granted beyond BEAD. Yes.
Gotcha.
Well, either BEAD 2.0 with non-deployment or something else besides BEAD. Yeah.
Gotcha. Thanks, sir.
Yep. Thanks, Kevin. All right. With that, no other questions kind of came into the chat, so we'll let everybody go. But again, as always, look forward to the email coming shortly with notes and links and all the good stuff. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next month. Let's see. Tamika said, okay, we have interest. And I think, look, this is a good group of folks. There's no reason we can't turn Arkansas from gray to red on that map. Hopefully we get it done very shortly to be counted in that number participating in the OATS program. So let's make sure that happens and we can make it help any way we can. And with that, we'll see everybody next month. Appreciate it.